Hi everyone, Dylan of Harmonic Design here. I'm going to record this, what I hope will be a somewhat quick video that'll be both a demo and a sort of tutorial on how to use the new Save Result Pro add-on. So once you have the plugin installed and you've entered in and activated your license, you'll see a page that'll look pretty much like this. If you've just activated it, then this table will be empty since you won't have any results saved. But basically, if you activate the plugin and don't change any settings, so you don't, on the settings tab, you leave everything blank and just default, then you'll start to see results show up like this. So I have 21 results in here. And by the way, I just put in like fake test data in here because I was too lazy to go and actually complete the various quizzes 21 times. That's just tedious. So I kind of faked some of the data here, but it gets the point across. So by default, you get pretty much the same information out of the gate that you do with the free version. You get the quiz name, you get the status or result, whether it failed or passed. You get what the score was. If the user was logged in, then you'll get the user's name and email address. And you get the date and time that the quiz was completed. And unlike the free version, this pro version actually figures out what your time zone is on the site and will use the time based off of that. So that's pretty cool. Another thing is, I'll show you this in a moment, but another thing that the pro version does that the free version doesn't do is it also saves each individual question and answer. So it won't just tell you, oh, you got 0 out of 2. It'll tell you which individual question you got right and wrong, and it'll tell you what the selected answer was and what the correct answer was for that question. So really cool, and I'll show you that in a moment. But overall, you might be thinking that, well, it looks a little nicer and it's kind of cool having the the redder and greener backgrounds to visually distinguish past and field quizzes. But ultimately, you might be thinking that this isn't really that much different than the free version. Well, that's where all of the extra and advanced functionality I built into this table comes into. So for example, you can actually sort these. So by default, the table sorts by date. The most recent result goes first. But if I were to click date, then it would actually reverse it so that the most the oldest result comes on top. Or I could sort by the results. So if I click that, you'll see that the table is now completely resorted with all the fails on top and all the passes on the bottom. And of course, if you click it again, it'll reverse the order so that all the passes are on top and the fails are on the bottom. And you can do the same for the quiz. So if I click quiz, you can see that now they're grouped by the quiz name. So all of the Friends quizzes are on top, all of the Harry Potter quizzes are in the middle, and all of the quick quizzes are on the bottom. You can actually go even farther than this though. So for example, if I click on Friends, then it'll only show me the results for that quiz. And same for date. If I were to, for instance, click on December 23rd here, it'll only show me results that were done on that date. So as you can see, it's pretty awesome and super useful, especially for people that have a lot of results and want to be able to track and easily find a specific result that they're looking for. But of course, I always go the extra step, so I also built in this filter bar up here. So for instance, let's do the quick quiz. So I click this and I'm going to select the quick quiz. So I only want to see results from the quick quiz. I only want to see results that passed, and I only want to see results from the 23rd. I click filter, and there we have it. So we're only seeing those filtered results now. Now, since there's no option set here right now, if I click filter again, it'll basically clear out that filter and we're back to seeing the full-fledged list. Now, if you mouse over each record, you'll see that there's a new button here that says view full record. Clicking that will actually expand to see the full results. So that's how you'll click to see what the individual answered questions were, what questions were right and wrong, and any extra form data that was submitted. However, right now, the data in here right now is kind of like fake test data. That's why you'll see like all of the times here for the most part are the same times. But we're actually going to go and we're going to complete some quizzes, get some real data in here so that you can see how it all works. So now that you have an idea of how the actual results table works and how to use that, let's start to get into the actual settings. So for the settings, we have form data. So the form data is to basically request any information from the user. So for instance, you can request what their name is or what their email address is. There's two types of forms. Most of you are going to be fine with just what I'm going to call the simple form, which is basically this right here. Actually, not even that. It's just this. This is the simple form. So if you only need to ask for either the user's name or their email address, the simple form is all you need. It's going to work great for you. However, if you need to ask and request for additional information, maybe you want to ask for the teacher's name or ask what grade the student's in, or maybe you want to ask what country or postal code or some kind of ID, or maybe you just want to ask them whether they like you, yes, no, or maybe. Sky's the limit. If you want all that extra functionality to kind of build a really full-fledged form with a lot of fields and different field types, then you can actually use the free HD Forms plugin. HD Forms is a visual form builder that I built. It's a Harmonic Design first-party plugin. It's not part of HD Quiz. It's a completely own plugin for building beautiful custom contact forms. But because it's so robust and so easy to use and intuitive, if you want to go the extra mile and have those kind of extra forms, you can install HD Forms for free, and you can just select any of the forms you've created, and boom, the Save Results Pro add-on will automatically use that form. But we're not going to do that right now. For now, we're going to stick with the simple form just for simplicity. The next major thing is emails. If you want, you can also send an email whenever a result is made. So for instance, if I was the administrator and I was Bill Gates, then I can send it to myself. I could go bill@microsoft.com, and whenever a quiz is completed, the results of that quiz will get emailed to bill@microsoft.com. And you can send to multiple addresses. So I can be, Elon at spacex.com, and it'll also send to Elon. You can also toggle whether you want to send the results to the quiz taker as well. Obviously, it should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyways. We can obviously only send the results to the quiz taker if we know what their email address is. So if the user's logged in, then we know what their email address is. If the user isn't logged in, then you'll need to either request their email here or make sure that you're requesting their email with the HD Forms. But if you enable that, then it'll automatically send them an email. Next is the email subject. By default, the subject of the email that gets sent is just HD quiz result. However, you can customize this to anything you want. You can, I'm just going to delete these because whenever we do the testing, I don't want to actually send it to those people. But for example, so you can send it to, translate it to your own language, or say, welcome to the car quiz test, or whatever it is. Next is the type of results that you want to send. By default, it'll just send the simple results. So for instance, it'll only send this is the quiz name, this is the quiz taker information, this is what their score was. That's it. Have a good day. And that's probably the best way to send the emails. But everyone's, maybe some of you want to also send the advanced results, or what I'm calling the expanded results, in the email as well. So the expanded results is once again the information that that the pro version collects, such as which individual question was right and wrong, and what the user selected, what the correct answer was, all that extra information there. Here we have two extra content sections that you can add to help customize your email. So for instance, the email, I'm calling it the before content and the after content. The before content is good to, for instance, upload your company logo so that the start of the email has your company logo or a banner. And you can say, thank you for taking our quiz. Please see your results below, or anything like that. And the outro content is good for, maybe writing a disclaimer, or a disclaimer saying, you promise not to share the results with anyone else, or maybe your company address and info and a link to your website, or anything like that you can put in the outro copy. And of course, once all of this is optional, if you don't want to send emails automatically, you can just ignore this page. So for now, let's actually go and let's use the simple form, and let's do something simple like requesting the name. So if you leave it blank, it won't request it. It'll only show the field if you actually leave something in here. So let's ask, what is your name? Question mark. Let's actually go and view the quiz. Let's look at the quick quiz here. And as you can see, it says, what is your name? And it won't let it, the quiz isn't showing, and it won't let me continue unless I add something in here. My name is something. And I click to begin the quiz. And now I can actually see the quiz. Now I'm going to refresh this page. Now you might be wondering, where is this text coming from? Click to begin the quiz. You're thinking, I don't like that. That's stupid. I want to change it to something else. Well, that text is actually coming directly from the HD quiz about options page translation. Under here, rename start, quiz start, that's where that's coming in. So by default, the button will just say quiz start. So if I go back to here and refresh, oh, so sorry, it's start quiz. That's something I should probably update since it doesn't pair that. That's an actual HD quiz bug. I'm gonna need to fix that for the next version. But so it'll basically take whatever you enter here is what it'll use here. So let's go back to the results and let's also ask for email. What is your email address? Save. Go back. I don't need this anymore. Go back here. Now it's also asking us for our email address. Now something that's kind of interesting is that if I type, if I try to start, it'll highlight this in red, letting us know that, hey, you didn't enter valid data. If I type in anything here, it doesn't matter, that'll validate. But if I type in anything here, it's still not working. And the reason is because we actually intelligently check to make sure that, hey, is this an actual email address? So if I type in an @ symbol and something else, still doesn't go. If I type in now, like, I don't know, a .co or something, now it actually recognizes that, yes, that is a valid email address and allows us to continue to the quiz. So another thing you need to know is the form placement. So by default, the form gets placed before the quiz, which is basically what you see here. So before the quiz even loads, the form shows up and we have to complete the form in order to unlock the quiz. However, there's another option here called before results. And what this does is basically the opposite. So the quiz shows up by default. And in order to click finish and see your results, you need to fill out this field. And once again, the finish button, the text comes from the HD quiz about options under translation. That's where you can change the name of the finish button. So let's go back and let's actually do this. So let's type in A and false. Name, we'll call ourselves, I don't know, we'll call ourselves Bill Murray. And our email address will be bill@me.com. Sure. We'll click finish. And now the quiz completes like normal. And you can see we can scroll up to the results page. And now let's actually take a look at our results. So here we go. So here's the new result we just did. So the name of the quiz was the quick quiz. We failed. We only got 1 out of 2 right, as you can see here. And as you can see under user, it's now correctly showing Bill Murray and bill@me.com. It's actually correctly showing us that information right here. Even though the user isn't logged in, it's correctly grabbing that information. On top of that, it's also correctly grabbed the date and time that the quiz was completed. Now, if I were to go view full record, let's click on that. And you'll see it expands out into this new window where it's showing us all the extra information. So for instance, here it's got the name of the quiz, the quick quiz. It's got the user that submitted it. It's got the date and time, and I'm sorry about this. I actually recently made a minor change to the way that time works, which is why it's showing array instead of the current time. I'll have that fixed before launch of the plugin. Just an oversight on me before recording the video. You'll see that we have the score and the percentage, the submitted form data. So this is like, actually saying, what is your name? What is your email address? You saw that. And now the cool part. So it'll actually show us the first question we got wrong. The second question the first question we got right. The second question we got wrong. And it'll even show us here. So the right column is what the correct answer is. The left column is what the user selected answer was. So you can see here that we selected false, but the right answer was true. So the question is wrong. And also, just in case there's confusion, the actual question is called first question, second question. So it'll use it'll actually take the name of the question. It doesn't just say first question, second question, third question. It'll actually use whatever the name of the question is here. Another cool thing is there's a print window. So if I click the print icon, it'll open up a new page and just create a very simple print version of the page so that you can print it off and you save it as a PDF if you're using Chrome. And I think Firefox has that feature as well. And the new Microsoft Edge browser also has that feature. I'm not sure. I feel like Safari is the only browser that might not have an automatic print or save to PDF. So just keep that in mind. So as you can see, it's very powerful and super awesome. But you might be thinking, hey, Dylan, this is great, but I kind of need more than that. I don't want to just ask for their name and email. I need more. And that's where HD Forms comes in. So I've already created a form called HD Quiz. So I'm just going to select that here. So I selected the form HD Quiz, and I'll go into I'll go into HD Forms in a moment here. But I just want to show you what this looks like now. And also I want to make sure I'm just making sure I wasn't actually sending emails. So this is the form. So I created a custom form for using HD Forms, and this is what the form looks like. So now we get a lot of extra cool advanced stuff. So for instance, we can have columns. We can have a little extra information underneath the field. And we have a third field here called your teacher's name. And if I use click the start quiz button, you'll see I also have error handling. So you can even get a nice little error message letting you giving you some extra information. So for instance, if I were to type in something like this and start quiz, actually let's show you a real example. So I type in, my name is hello, my email address is random, and my teacher's name is Mrs. Frizzle. If I try to start quiz, it won't let me do it because this isn't a valid email. So it's start quiz, and as you can see, it actually gives me context saying that yeah, I entered data, but the reason why it won't let me continue is because this isn't a valid email address. So I type in something that actually looks like an email address, and now it lets me continue on to the quiz. So let's actually take a look at HD Forms so that you can see how it looks and works. So I'm going to actually record a full HD Forms tutorial video, so just consider this a quick mini tutorial. So I have a form already created. It's called HD Quiz. Let's click on it. And here you can see that I have the elements here in a visual form builder. So let's look at it. So here, if I click on, so here I have think of it as a block-based editor, not that dissimilar from Gutenberg and other block editors. So I have one block here called columns, and it's a 2-column block. So if I click it, you'll see that I have the information here. And then I have inside the first column, I have one text block or text field, and in the right column I have an email block or an email field. One thing to note is when you click on the block, you'll see that the sidebar updates with the kind of information for that block. One thing to really pay attention to is this right here. This is called the field ID. If you're just a regular user of HD Forms, the field ID is really not something that's important, but it'll become important for us with the Pro add-on, and I'll go into and show you why in a moment. For now, let's just actually go in and edit some stuff. So here we are, we're asking for the teacher's name, but you know what? Maybe we want to also ask for the grade. What grade are you in? So let's click here to add a new block. So we're going to add a block right in between these two elements here. So let's add a new block. And now we get a list of all the blocks that we can add. So we got a text input, a multi-line input. This is actually something that won't be released, so you can ignore that. Maybe we can do an integer. So an integer is a whole number. So there's two types of number inputs. There's an integer, which is a whole number, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's what's called a float, which is basically allows decimals. So if you want to allow 1.2, 1.4, then you want to use the float. So since we want to ask for the person's grade, there's actually many ways. One way is we can just, an integer, we can just say, what is your name? And then we can select required, whether we want it to be required or not, and that's it. So now we have an integer input where only numbers can be input. You can't input any text characters, only numbers are allowed in. The problem with this is that this allows any number. So I can add a number as low as 0 all the way up to, I don't know, 10 million or whatever the limit is on that, right? But since we're asking for something, well, I don't know why I wrote what is your name? What grade are you in is what it was supposed to say. There we go. What grade are you in is what it's supposed to be. right? So, you know, maybe you only, maybe you're a teacher and you only teach grades, I don't know, 3 to 7 or something. Well, allowing a user to type in any number doesn't make a lot of sense. So let's actually delete this block. And instead we'll use, let's use a drop down. So I'm going to go here and use a select or drop down field. And I'm just going to copy and paste that in here. We're going to make it required. And then here we're going to type in all the grades that we're going to allow. So let's do 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I'm going to click add. And there we go. We now have a drop down. This is what grade are you in? It's required. And you can see that we have the options here. Let's add in one more field. Let's do a date input. And let's go, what is your date of birth? We'll make that, actually we'll make that, we won't make that required. Date of birth won't be required. So there we go. So we have what is your date of birth, where the user can enter their date, month, year. And you know what, let's do one more thing. Let's add another column. So I'm going to click add block. I'm going to go columns. I'm going to say, yep, let's leave it at 2 columns, add. So you can now see we got 2 columns. And I'm just going to drag and drop. Just going to drag and drop that, and boom, we now have 2 columns. Now also, I just want to reiterate that, you know, this might look a little complicated or weird, but just remember that none of this is mandatory. You don't need to use this if you don't need to use it. So I'm going to save the form here. Now let's go back to the quiz and refresh. And this is what the form looks like. So as you can see, all the data we have here. If I try to start quiz, you'll see that all of these are mandatory fields. You can see the date of birth isn't mandatory. So let's actually fill this out. So let's go, I don't know, what's a funny name? I don't know, Ash Ketchum. That's his name, right, from Pokemon? I don't know if that's how you spell it, right, but I don't know. Pokefan@hotmail.com. We're going old school. Date of birth isn't mandatory, so we'll leave a blank. And what grade are we in? We're in grade 6. And then the teacher's name. And we start the quiz, and we're back to, you know, regular HD quiz. So there's one last thing that you need to be aware of, and that is, in order to store, so if I were to actually submit this quiz now, it will still save the extra information, that form information. It'll save that information. It's just, it'll save it here under the full record. It'll save it here under the submitted form data section. It won't save it here to the user. So especially since if we wanted to send an email, currently, even though we're asking for the user's email, as far as the HD Pro add-on is concerned, we don't know who the user's email is. So we wouldn't be able to send to the quiz taker. So if we wanted to do that, what we need to know is we need to know the ID of the user's email, and that's where this comes in. So let's add both the name and ID. So here we're asking for the user's name, so let's click on it, and you'll see that here we have the ID. Let's copy this. Copy. Let's go back to results, and we'll paste that in here. And let's also do the email ID. Let's save that in there and save. So now that we're actually requesting the user's email address, that means 2 things. It means that A, if we want, we can now send the email to the quiz taker as well. And it also means that the email address and user will appear here in the users column. So let's go take a look at this. Let's actually fill this out and take a look at it. So let's go and do, I don't know, the Ash Ketchum was, I don't know, let's just do Elon Musk, Elon at spacex.com. We'll leave, I don't know, we'll just leave date of birth blank because it's not mandatory. For grade, we'll say Elon's in grade 5. I thought the Mrs. Frizzle joke was a good one, so let's make the teacher's name Mrs. Frizzle. Let's start the quiz, and we'll get, we'll answer right. And finish. So now we've finished, the quiz completes as normal. And if we go back to the results and refresh the results page, you'll see here we go. We got the quick quiz. User passed. User got 2 out of 2. There's that information we stored. And remember, this we wouldn't have been able to know that the user was Elon Musk and all that if we didn't fill out these fields here. And we can see the date and time was completed. If we click on full record, we'll now see all of the extra information that we also submitted. So we'll see the user's email, we'll see that the date of birth has nothing entered, we'll see what grade you're in, and we'll see the teacher's name. So we get all of that extra information right here, right now. We could see that both questions were answered correctly, and that's pretty much it. The only other thing to really be aware of is the advanced feature. I don't recommend using this for most of you simply because any extra field that you enter here will kind of make the full data payload larger, which means it's going to be more taxing on your server, on your hosting environment. So just be careful with that. But for example, if you're using HD forms, you can see the columns here. So you have a column for quiz, result, score, user, and date. Maybe you don't want to have to constantly keep clicking on view full record just to find out what grade the person's in. You just want to see what grade they're in right here in the column. So in that case, what you need to do is, just like before, you need to figure out what the field is. So let's click on the field here for the grade. We'll copy this. We'll go back here to settings and advanced, and we'll enter that field name. And now when we refresh the page, you'll be able to see that there's a new field here called what grade you are in. Just note that this field will only populate for new results. It won't retroactively figure that out, because especially if you have a lot of results, that would probably crash your server. So it only saves this information for the table moving forward. Just as a reminder, if you click on view full record, we still have the person's grade listed here. It just won't show here in the table unless it's a new result. So let's go and add this in again. Let's go Elon, type in just some random. This time let's actually add in a date. Let's do I don't know, 12/12/2020. It's a brand new baby. We'll do, I don't know, grade 5. I still think Mrs. Frizzle is funny, so let's use Mrs. Frizzle. Let's just leave everything blank. I'm lazy. So there we go. So let's refresh the page. And as you can see, the quick quiz, fail, 0 out of 2. There's the information, the user, the date. And as you can see, the field now contains the number 5. So that's a pretty quick but surprisingly comprehensive overview of all the functionality and features you get with the Save Results Pro add-on and how to use all the basics. I hope you find this add-on very useful. I'm certainly very proud of it, and I definitely added in a lot more features than I ever imagined, such as being able to sort the tables, being able to have a custom column, things like that. Were things I never expected and never originally planned to add to the add-on. But what can I say? I'm an overachiever, and I like to give good bang for the buck. So please let me know if you have any questions. The current date is Tuesday, December 29th, and I expect to have this plugin released and finished sometime during the first week of January. I'm hoping as early as the 4th or maybe 5th of January, I'll actually release this plugin. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and have a good week.